anything. Get it? Haha. This movie's called Say Anything. So I said anything. Get it? Okay. I was gonna come up with some kind of word to say, but I don't think it would have made as much sense as just saying anything. Okay, whatever. We're getting into it. This movie's fantastic. There are many movies from the 80s that are considered classic rom-com teen movies everybody should watch. You know? Like this movie is referenced a lot with the trench coat. If you don't know what this movie is, you've probably heard of the scene from it where the main character holds a boombox over his head beneath the window of the love interest. You know, I'm holding a mic with my other hand, but like this, can you imagine? I'm holding a boombox and I'm playing Peter Gabriel. It's that movie. And I'm the kind of person who wants to watch all the movies that are good. That's a poor way to say that, but I like movies, and so like when somebody is like, this movie's a classic, I'm gonna watch it. I haven't watched the Godfather movies. Sorry, tangent. Okay. And I have to say, this is my favorite movie from the 80s that is considered a classic. That is considered a classic. Off the top of my head right now, and I reserve the right to change my mind if I think of a different movie, but right now this is the movie. It is, let's give some background for once. So this movie is a like I said, a rom-com classic comedy. Bo Burnham reference. What is going on in this video? I'm sorry, at least I'm talking fast. I had coffee. Okay. So this movie is made by Cameron Crowe. He also made movies that you might know that rhymed, like Almost Famous, Jerry Maguire, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Vanilla Sky. That also rhymes. And Say Anything. I have seen Almost Famous, and I have watched the first 5 minutes of Jerry Maguire and turned it off because Tom Cruise kind of scares me, frankly. I Almost Famous was good. And then Fast Times at Ridgemont High, that's one that I hear about all the time. You know, like every time somebody references the 80s, they reference like Fast Times at Ridgemont High with Phoebe Cates in her red swimsuit, you know? Do they reference that in Gremlins? She's in Gremlins. Sorry. Anyway, I didn't like Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I'm not gonna get super into it. I just kind of thought it was like, I think maybe because it was like hyped up like so much as such like a great movie that I was like, there isn't much going on here. It's just kind of like high schoolers going about high school. And like, yeah, like it has a lot of like famous actors now, like, you know, like Judge Reinhold and Phoebe Cates. She's not really doing anything now, but I mean, she used to do a lot in the 80s. And then like Sean Penn. I'll end my Fast Times at Ridgemont High tangent with one thing I liked about it. There's the one scene where Sean Penn orders pizza in class, and that was funny. The rest of the movie just kind of felt like you were spying on people, and not as much as the Virgin Suicides or whatever that was called, I don't know. But boy, I am going all over the place today. Jeez. Anyway, is it enjoyable? Okay, so yeah, I like the pizza scene, but that's about it. The rest of the movie just kind of like didn't live up to the hype to me. And so when watching these 80s movies, like I'll carry on non-Cameron Crowe 80s rom-coms. So Pretty in Pink, gives I give that a thumbs up. Um, 16 Candles, I give that a thumbs down. Um, that other movie, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, I give that a thumbs middle, slightly down. I thought it was too chaotic. I think Euphoria copied it a lot more than I thought they did previous to thinking about this video, but I don't like Ferris Bueller. He's like kind of like a jerk. Hot take. Who am I? Jessica Day? Okay. All right, but not okay. Back to Say Anything. So Say Anything, as I was saying, 80s movies classics are very hit and miss with me because sometimes they're really good, sometimes they're really boring, sometimes they're like way too hyped and then like not much of anything. Like I feel like maybe people really like them because that's how they felt in high school or something, but that's not how I felt in high school, so like not relatable to me, but it's fine if it's relatable to other people. Like, I mean, not everybody has to like every movie, of course, but I really like to Say Anything. So now we'll start. So Say Anything is a movie about Lloyd Dobler. He is a dork and he is stalking this girl he likes. He has 3 friends who are girls and he's like, what do I do? I like this girl, but we're graduating and she's cool and I'm not, so how do I approach her? And then they're like, you can't approach her, you're a loser. But in a nice way. Sort of, not really. And so then he calls her up and she's like, sure, I'll go out with you. And so Lloyd is like this kind of like not like alt, not like a punk, but like definitely not like cool. Like he wears like a trench coat and he does kickboxing and he's like mostly like just chilling. And then his friends, like one of his friends like writes little songs, like breakup songs, and so he's just kind of like an in-between guy. He's not like the worst, but he's also not like cool. And then the girl he likes is like this pretty, very smart valedictorian lady, and her only friend is her dad. So like she at graduation is kind of like, ah, man, I wish I got to know people more. So then when Lloyd asks her out and asks her to a party, she's like, yes, I will go. I will meet the public. And then the story kind of goes from there. It's mostly like a slice of life type movie. I was trying to come up with like how to say the plot in a good way, but like none of the plot elements seem to lead anywhere besides like, oh, Lloyd is nice. You can see him being nice to his nephew. You can see him trying to cheer up his sister. You can see him supporting his friends. You can see him being dependable. But like, it's not like a kind of movie that, oh, there's a symbolic bench and later the bench means something. Wow, that was a great example. So it's not like that kind of movie. It's kind of like the qualm I had with Fast Times at Ridgemont High, but like these characters are like nice and likable, and Lloyd Dobler is very charming and very like caring, and like their relationship, him and the lead lady, their relationship tends to progress very naturally, like they go on dates and it's not like forced or rushed or pressured. It's all just like, I really like you, and then the other one's like, I like you a lot too, and they just hang out a lot. And it's super cute. And plus, what's his face? John Cusack plays Lloyd Dobler, and he just has like this way about him that's like so like calm and charming, and like kind of like, it's like charismatic and like not in like a pushy, like some people are charismatic and like a in your face kind of. I mean, like I know that's kind of an oxymoron, but I mean like they not oxymoron. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like some people are charismatic in like an overbearing kind of way, or like in a very very confident way, But he's like charismatic in like a calm, cool, not too full of himself, humble way. And it's just like really fun to watch, and like the leads have get along like really well, and like just he's really good at showing like that. Like the leads are so good at like building this little relationship, and I don't know, like the subtlety of it and how like they feel like real people in like the cutest way. Like there's like a scene where like he teaches the love interest how to drive like a stick shift car, and like he's like messing with her and they're like laughing together and it feels like very natural. I don't know, it's just a super cute, fun little romantic movie. And a lot of weird stuff happens in the plot, not like in like a it's just kind of like out of the blue, so that's why it kind of feels more slice of life than anything else, because like at some point like the daughter's dad gets in trouble with the IRS, and then like half of the movie is about that, and that doesn't really mean anything besides like tax evasion, like it doesn't like it breaks trust with her dad, who is like her only friend, but it doesn't like really affect her life because she was gonna go to college on a scholarship anyway. Like, so like, yeah, it breaks trust with her dad, but she's got her boyfriend and she's still got her education and she's gonna be fine. So it's not like a plot stopper. It's just more to show like, oh, Lloyd, or the lead lady is called Diane, named. So Lloyd and Diane get along really well, and despite the dad being a jerk, Lloyd and Diane still love each other. I think that plot's way better than Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Because in that movie, it's just kind of like, I actually don't really even remember the B plot. Besides, like, I mean, I guess there's like 3. Sean Penn is gonna fail high school. Okay. Anyway. Yes. Say Anything is really good and really cute. Mostly propped up by the actors' performances. I think these actors were just, like, really good. And to pick a plot where it's, like, people that you like who get along and who are very committed to each other, I just think that is just so nice to see. It's so nice to see. I think like people tend to think that the 80s had a lot of like wholesome movies, and I don't know, that's not true. They have just as much wholesome movies as, well, I mean, now we have maybe a deficit because people are like, I'm tired of wholesome, I want to see real stuff. But like in the 80s, it was like, it was real stuff, and it wasn't like super filtered or super, like, they were perfect looking people, but they weren't like, they were like perfect real life people instead of perfect like robots like people are now. Or like, yeah, you can have so many filters and whatever now that it's like you have to be like perfect now, and like every film is like so shiny and like so detailed, and it's like that's what they lean on so heavily, is like camera quality. And like, I don't know, like in the 80s, like people, they looked shiny and sparkly, but they didn't really look like you couldn't achieve that look. I mean, like the hair like is like way too perfect, like way too poofy, and like people, you probably can't maintain that hair consistently throughout a day or whatever. But I mean, like, like they looked like achievable beauty instead of like now where it's like that's not even what they look like at all. Like nobody looks like how they look on now on like film. You know what I mean? Like you can change it so easily now. And I'm sure they had filters in the 80s too. Like those JCPenney pictures and stuff. But I don't know. I think that's part of why the 80s movies are like appealing, cuz people can tell like stories about like, "Oh, yes, this is what high school was like." And maybe it's not perfect about what high school was like, but at least it more looked like high school, you know? Like and everybody looked pretty cozy. People looked like I'm wearing a big sweater, and it's like, "Oh, cute. Big sweater." You know. But I think Say Anything is one of those movies that is wholesome, you know? Whereas, like, other movies like Dirty Dancing, like, if you, like, note the premise of Dirty Dancing, like, oh, Patrick Swayze, and, jeez, I'm blanking on her name. Jennifer Grey? Are dancing together. How cute is that? But then it's kind of, like, not super cute, you know? The Dirty Dancing is pretty risque. Way more than you'd expect from an 80s movie that's all wholesome and the Goonies. But, you know, like, they can still be like, oh, this is like what humans are like, but not in a way of like, not to like gross you out so much. I don't know, Roadhouse might have been to gross you out. But if you watch it on TV, censored, it's pretty cute. I don't know. I think also people just have nostalgia for the 80s, and they're like, that's what I looked like in the 80s, so I don't get what kids look like now. I don't get what kids look like now. Getting old. Anyway, yeah. But I would suggest go watching Say Anything. Um, because it is one of those 80s movies that, like, makes you think the 80s was great. And also it's just, like, super cute. And so if you just want, like, a super cute movie, an 80s movie, that there is no teen pregnancy, like, why are there so many teen pregnancies in 80s movies? Like, people, okay, sorry, another tangent, but, like, people seem to think that 80s movies are so wholesome and have no bad stuff, and, like, now everything is, like, way too suggestive, and, like, people have they're wearing, like, skimpy clothes now or whatever, and people don't like that, and they think it's too risque now. But it's, like, in the 80s, so many of these teen movies have like teen pregnancy and somebody going through a crisis of teen pregnancy, and it's like, that's not wholesome, that's like heavy stuff, like, and that's in like every 80s movie. It's not in Say Anything, but it's in like so many of them. And now you don't really see that. Like, now people don't like talk about, like, I mean, if you're watching something like Shameless or something, but I mean, like, most like teen movies, like Mean Girls and Up, don't really, unless I'm trying to say, like, unless they're like an edgy movie show like Euphoria, Shameless, whatever, like, they don't really talk about teen pregnancy. They just kind of talk about like bullies and stuff. And like the 80s had all kinds of teen pregnancy in the movies. So anyway, some lessons, I guess. So yeah, this was a good 80s movie though. Go watch it. Super cute. Oh, I'm all over the place today, but, you know, when you see an iconic scene, like the scene where Lloyd Dobler holds the boombox? Jukebox. That'd be crazy if he held the jukebox over his head. If he held the boombox over his head. And you think like, oh, that's him, like, that's like Cyrano de Bergerac style, like somebody's like, or Romeo and Juliet, where like he's under the window, like, and she'll come out to the window and say, hello, I love you, like, but she doesn't. In that scene in the movie, he just holds the boombox over his head and she goes back to sleep. She doesn't come to the window. The scene just ends with him holding the song up, and it's a cute scene. It's definitely a cute cute scene, but it's not what I thought it was or how people like present it. They don't like it is romantic, but it's not like Romeo and Juliet, which I assumed it was because of how much people reference it as like an iconic romantic moment, or like an Easy A where it's referenced and like the guy comes to her window with the speakers and she comes to the window, and she says like, "Oh, hello." So that's what I expected, but like that, nope. She doesn't come to the window. Spoilers. So yeah, okay. I think I should be done talking because I covered like 60 different things. Just go think about it. Just go think about that stuff. Say Anything really has nothing to do with the movie, besides that the daughter and the dad say it to each other all the time. They're like, you can say anything to me. And I'm like, that's a weird title. And it feels kind of hammy because they say it verbatim. And it's not romantic. Why did I say it like that? It's not romantic. It's just like, I trust you. I trust you too. We can say anything to each other. And it's like, but then she can't trust him because he's a tax evader. That's a spoiler. I'm sorry, but he's like in trouble with the IRS. Okay. Or allegedly in trouble with the IRS. So they're going through it with the taxes. So then it's like, but it has nothing to do with Lloyd. They don't say anything to Lloyd. They say anything to each other, the parent and the daughter. Like they just. But maybe John Cameron. Why am I thinking it's John Carpenter directing? Cameron Crowe. Maybe Cameron Crowe was like, the movie's about tax evasion. It's not about romance. That's what I'm gonna call it. Say Anything, because it's about the daughter and the dad. It's not about romance. It's about lots of things, I guess. It's a slice of life. All right. Have fun with that. Have fun unpacking all of that, and maybe slow it down to half the speed because I probably talked faster. Goodbye.